I mean, Gestapo-Titel.
with you. I'm with Israel. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
That's it, ladies, gentlemen. You hear that music? It's TruthWire time. Truth time. How y'all doing today? It's a beautiful Friday. I am one of your hosts, Craig Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And of course, we have our guy, Jayme CheeseSlice on the ones and twos. Jayme, thank you for always doing such a great job. And thank you all for being here today to support our channel. We're going to have a great guest on today. You guys know him. You love him. At least I do. I'd say he's the last of the Mohicans, right? I mean, he's held strong and true. He was chastised back in the days, fam, for saying that he had a UFO experience or believed in UFOs. And at that time, if you talked about it in Congress, you were pretty much, they used it against you. Now they declassified it and said UFOs actually exist, fam. So once again, big ups to Dennis Kucinich, who will be joining the show, former congressman from the great state of Ohio, fam.
You had to bring in football to this.
Not football. That's the Buckeyes, and I'm throwing some love to Misty Winston out there. Except I think, did they lose yesterday? Ohio State, I believe, lost yesterday, got knocked out of the tournament, and Michigan won. But Jayme CheeseSlice, fam, he has a VCU shirt on. If you want to come in and show it off real quick to the audience, Jayme, you deserve to. VCU had a big win over Nico House's North Carolina Tar Heels. The Rams beat the Rams yesterday. Show that shirt off, that VCU.
There we go.
What's VCU?
Virginia Commonwealth. That's my alma mater.
Oh, okay.
And they showed up tomorrow. They showed up yesterday in the tournament and beat one of the powerhouse teams. So
and they were known. I believe they had Shaka Smart back in the days, right?
Yeah, that was the old coach.
They had some big wins, and
they went to the Final Four,
school, beating some big schools, but they haven't had as significant as a win as they did yesterday in about good 8 to 10 years, I think.
Yeah, it's been like a decade.
Yeah, but that was a huge win yesterday, and they will face now the Big Ten powerhouse Fighting Illini. Fam is
they overcame 19 points.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I choked a little bit there. 19 points they came back from and won it. So shout out to the Tar Heels. Better luck next time. Yeah. And you'll
Fam is a UCF graduate, like her brother Johnny. Vanessa, her sister's the only one smart enough to get the hell out of town and not go to UCF. I mean, come on, everybody gets the UCF. I could have got into UCF and I had a 1.9 GPA, but that's beside the point. That's where they graduated. The UCF is taking on UCLA, and I am like an honorary member of UCLA. One of the restaurants I opened up for my old company when I was working in the restaurant business was called Rocco's, and fam's very familiar with it. We went to it all the time. My friend Ron Pacone, who I'm going on a show later on, I used to bring home when we lived together a bunch of Rocco's food. I actually quit Rocco's so I could do the Convo couch with Fiorella full time, and I got a waiting job just to supplement some of the income. But I opened up the restaurant bar on pretty much the campus, right off the campus of UCLA. So UCLA versus UCF today. I don't know which Gale I'm rooting for, but they're going to be playing, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, those college bars are always a lot of fun when you're in college too. So.
Oh yeah, dude. I had the UCLA bar, and it was like this old bar that we took over, and we spent like $1.2 million renovating it. That was like one of my favorite years in the restaurant business. I was
this was like 10 years ago,
manager,
right?
My friend Adolfo, who went on to open up the Rocco's in WeHo, which Lance Bass was a partner of, and it's still over there right now. It's in one of the friendliest spots in what would you call it? Gaytown, fam? What do you call the West Hollywood area of Hollywood?
I mean, yeah.
WeHo.
Like the gayest part of Hollywood.
WeHo.
Yeah.
And Adolfo opened up that place, but we got to open up. The UCLA place was more like sports centered, and then they opened up WeHo, and it was more drag queen centered. Like, they'd have drag queen shows and whatnot and stuff. But that was the diversity of Rocco's, and everybody loves good Italian pizza, gourmet pizza.
Have any like drag queen sports bars?
What's that?
Were there any drag queen sports bars?
It's actually a drag queen sports bar.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
That's been around for a long, long time.
What are you saying? That's amazing, Jayme. You don't think drag queens like pizza and wings? The wings were great. The wings were great because we would slow bake them in the pizza oven, right? And then we pull them out, and then we would fry them. So the wing was still crispy, but it was like a braised chicken wing where all the meat came off the bone. You're not like dying to get a toothpick right after you eat them for the places that like a bunch of gavones just fry them raw. Gavones.
Yeah, I prefer them like I prefer the dry rub too. I don't like them when they're all messy. Like you can dip them if you need to, but I rather have it crispier like that. Yeah, and I'll eat a ton of them when they're like that.
Dry rub smoked wings are great. They're great. Yeah, that was one thing when I was vegan for a little while. I really missed chicken wings, man. But now it's organic, grass-fed, humane-friendly chicken wings out there, guys. We're meeting the compromise out there. Jayme, congratulations on your VCU win.
Yeah,
go away.
Rams.
I love you. Go away.
All right. Have a good show.
I will, buddy.
Thank you.
I think I like to abuse him too. He likes it. He kind of treats me like an older brother now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're gonna be the death to me, Jayme. No, I'm not. Okay, gotcha. He's the best. Love him, fam. I don't know if you really want to talk about this really quick before the section. We have a guest coming in, and thank you so much, guys. I'm wearing the sunglasses because I have this like little red eye. It's like a pimple or a spider bite, and my eyes are like red as can be. So I'm going to be wearing these. It's not just that I'm trying to look cool because I am. I'm trying to actually hide that so I don't look like a donkey. It's not contagious, so you're okay. You're safe.
You can't see it on camera.
You can see this on camera. It starts to water up big time without the glasses.
Okay.
So, I mean, my eyes water up big time without the glasses. I've been sitting in front of the screen for a couple hours getting ready for the show, watching old school Dennis Kucinich interviews. Fam, it's going to be a great interview. Like I said, last of the Mohicans. I put him up there with Cynthia McKinney. Those are the two ex-congressmen that were really, stood fast. You know what I'm saying? I was on Crosstalk with him 2 weeks in a row because we actually did it before the election and after the election. There's some areas of improvement for election stuff. I don't think that's one of his areas, and that's for every member of Congress right now. Really, this whole election thing, the nonsense that's going on, especially from the QAnon right, which is the populist right that we used to call them. Now they're the QAnon right, where they're blaming Iran and Venezuela for stealing the elections without any proof because a CIA whistleblower said so. No paper trail. It's just like the protesters getting paid, fam. Where's the trail? All thousands of people are getting paid, and I haven't seen one flipping receipt. Not one pay stub, fam. Fam, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you've been to more protests than me. These people slept on our couch and whatnot. Are they overall, is there something I'm missing? Are they getting paid? Have you ever witnessed anything like that? Because if they are, fam, I want some of the money back we put out there to feed and put these people up sometimes because we were working and they were full-time activists making no money. Are there? Have you ever heard of anything like this, fam?
I mean, I've heard of it, but from the far right.
Yeah.
It's not real. Well, yeah. I mean, they think that everything is Soros. I mean, there's a lot of things that are Soros that I think are worthy of criticism, but I mean, it's not. There are genuine people who have issues with the government. I mean, I think a lot of people right now have issues with the US government and what it's doing. No matter where you are politically, like I've seen people from the right complain, people from the left, people from who aren't even political at all complain about the state of the United States, right? So it's very possible that people do something about it, that people say, okay, well, I don't believe in what's happening. I want to oppose it, whether vocally, whether something more. And I think a lot more people who are silent, who aren't activists or who don't get out in the streets still have problems. They just are trying to keep their head above water. They're trying to work. They're trying to live their lives with the least bit of complications. You know, the majority of people are simple people. They just want to live their life and, you know, have a normal life. And, you know, they know things are wrong, but they don't really know what they can do about it. So when things get really difficult, there are definitely genuine people that come out and say, okay, well, I want to change. And I've seen that in a lot of places, but especially, of course, in Los Angeles. You know, I know a lot of people there, some of our friends who still day to day do local things, because that's the only way, in my opinion, right now you can change anything is locally, like city council, you know, that sort of thing. At a federal level, it's become impossible because it's captured, right? So I think people still try, but we know that electoralism is just it's not doing it. I mean, look where we are right now.
Yeah. On another note, fam, we're going to be able to talk later on after the show, not after the show, but after our guest comes on. We'll talk a little bit with our guest. The craziness, what's going on. I've been watching a little mainstream media. Obviously, I throw Fox on because I want to see what they say. I go back to MSNBC and CNN a little bit here and there, but really I kind of concentrate on Fox because they're going to put out the most pro-war propaganda out there. I mean, hey, we got all these conservative right, populist right, QAnon right, independent media, which we call the alternative mainstream media, pushing the same type of bullshit, war propaganda all the time. Like I said, the whole Iran stole the election out of the blue is war propaganda. It is to manufacture consent for more bombing. But, you know, what people aren't understanding, and, you know, my friend who's Lebanese, who I just spoke to, I told him, I said, you know, what's going on is that go buy gasoline now. They're getting hit hard. Iran is hitting back hard. Fam, I talked about new weapons in play. What did they show yesterday? The Fatah 2 or something, and they have the Fatah 3. So they're coming out with new weapons. There's talk about Iran shooting down F-35s or F-14s, one of the two, I can't remember. American jets. There was talk about two of them. We don't know if it's confirmed, real. One had to land. On the mainstream media, not the mainstream media, excuse me, the Iranian media, they're talking, they have air supremacy in Israel right now, and meaning that there's no defense anymore for Israel, that they can't stop these ballistic missiles from coming in. And the newer one they used yesterday goes like really, really high near the edge of the atmosphere. And then it kind of comes down at a certain angle with an incredible amount of speed. There's no way they can shut it down. How could the Americans not know this, fam? This is something we need to talk about. I think our guest has a lot to say about that. Why don't we bring him in unless you have one final comment before we get started?
Let's bring in our guest. Yeah.
All right, guys. You might know him as the former congressional member of the OHIO. Sorry about your Buckeyes, sir. I believe he also ran for governor of Cleveland. He was once the campaign manager for RFK, but then he stepped away. I know he got mad at me for asking that question. Well, I don't know if he got mad at me, but I can see him across the room when I asked RFK that question after he took down a tweet from Roger Waters. I was the first to do that before October 7th was there, but I wanted to get it out in front of it because I thought it was an issue we needed to take on head on. However, after October 7th, I think a lot of people walked away from the campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Kucinich is with us today.
Good to join. Hello to both of you.
Mr. Kucinich, it's great to see you. The last time we saw each other in person was at a Gerald Celente event, a pro-peace event, where you took questions in the beginning of the campaign. I got to tell you something. I was just as excited about that campaign at the time, just like I was excited about Tulsi's campaign, because I believe that when she was running for president, she was the most pro-peace, anti-regime change candidate out there. But having to walk away from both of them was quite sad, and it's disappointing. but that's what really makes me like you even more. I was saying before you came on, I think that you're one of the last of the Mohicans. I've been watching some of your recent interviews, looking at some of your recent Substack stuff, and I just want to say thank you for holding the line and being a pro-peace type of guy and not capitulating the way we see a lot of our politicians eventually do. So thank you so much, Congressman, for really being one of the last of the Mohicans. It's truly an honor to have you on again.
Well, thank you for that recognition. And I'm, as I look at what's happening in Iran, it's certainly not new to me, because during the time that I was in the House of Representatives, and when President Bush was planning to attack Iran, over a period of several years, I gave well over 100 speeches on the topic of Iran as to why we should endeavor to have peaceful relations, diplomatic relations with Iran, and how any plans to attack Iran were folly. And those were speeches that I gave, oh golly, maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Not more. So when I saw the first attack on their nuclear facilities, I saw that as total folly and wrong. The fact that Congress did not intervene is devastating for our constitutional form of government. But this last attack at the end of February marked a departure for this administration, in the sense that they chose war. They did it at the behest of Israel. They did it without the permission of Congress. They killed a religious leader, which sets off a potential holy war. They were responsible for a missile strike that killed over 180 people at Minab, most of them children. First trying to blame it on Iranians, and even now not fully accepting responsibility. The Congress has not intervened. Congress has, under Article 1, Section 8, a constitutional obligation. This isn't whether you like the president or not, it's a constitutional obligation on matters of war to decide to take this country from a position of peace to war. And now the administration is going to ask for $200 billion, which means that they may have spent tens of billions already. We have no idea how many munitions they have dropped on Iran. We have no idea how many innocent civilians have been killed. And at this point, they never made a case for any kind of war. Every American knows that. And so the knock-on effects will be they've created war in the region. This administration has created war in the region. It has made it very difficult to be trusted in any hope to end this war, to be trusted by Iran, because it's the second time that Iran was in peaceful negotiations that the United States struck. And so we're in a situation here where it's an inflection point on our republic. We could lose our republic in this 250th anniversary. We have no congressional authority that has stepped in to stop this. There will be a test to appropriate any money for this war. And I say they shouldn't appropriate a single dime. Yeah. It's the last chance to impose restraint here on this administration, which has turned to criminal activity in its pursuit of domination in this continued imperial march. But I see this as one of the most dangerous periods in our lifetime, and the courts have not intervened yet, and certainly Congress has not intervened to curtail an administration that has run amok.
Well, going along these same lines, because you've been around for a while and you've seen the trajectory of history, as you just mentioned. You mentioned the Iraq War. The United States seems to be using the exact same type of rhetoric. When Donald Trump attacked Iran, he immediately went and said that they had potential weapons to attack American cities. And they have been pushing this rhetoric and these lies that there are Iranian sleeper cells, that, any day now we could have these attacks. We've seen multiple, what I would call false flag-ish attempts, where we have seen the American people be fear-mongered about potential attacks from Iranian terrorists. So a lot of this weapons of mass destruction from Iraq is coming into play right now. We have also seen the various discrepancies in the body counts coming from Iran, saying that there are more US soldiers that have been killed versus what we are getting in the media. And because this war has been witnessed by much of the generations that are of adulthood right now, do you see that people are more aware of this war and they're kind of catching on to the lies that, the pack of lies that we were sold before? And it's getting harder to sell this war, especially when we're seeing discrepancies in the numbers and the capacity of the United States and the capacity of Iran that's being severely underestimated, and clearly was a huge mistake by the Trump administration.
Well, first of all, Donald Trump was pushing into this war by Netanyahu. There is no, it's past the point of debate. And we, when you look back at the beginning of the Iraq War, Netanyahu appeared before my committee on government oversight in September of 2002. You can go to the internet, any one of your viewers can, and they can just type in Kucinich and Netanyahu government oversight, September 2002. And Netanyahu was leading the effort to sell the war then. I did a comprehensive investigation of the causes for war against Iraq. And anyone can see what I presented to Congress by typing in Kucinich, October 2nd, 2002, Iraq war analysis. And in that analysis, I said Iraq didn't have anything to do with 9/11, with Al-Qaeda's role in 9/11. Iraq didn't have the intention or capability of attacking the United States, and Iraq did not have the weapons of mass destruction that were supposedly the cause of the war. Nevertheless, President Bush was able to get approval from the Congress under the authorization for the use of military force, and he used that to attack Iraq, caused the deaths of over 1 million innocent Iraqis, bring an additional, depending on who we talked to, $3 to $5 trillion in extra costs to the U.S. Debt. And today, everyone understands that the Iraq War was based on lies. Well, when you take that same paradigm that you've just asserted, it's absolutely true. I mean, this war is based on lies, but they haven't even gone to Congress to tell the story. They just jumped over the entire constitutional framework, and they decided, in the matter of a king, we're going to prosecute a war. Remember, this whole idea of a celebration of 1776, one of the reasons that the United States declared independence was to get away from a king that would take a country to war and would quarter troops in people's homes and impose the cost of the war on people who never had a chance to decide or vote on it. So, it's lie after lie after lie. And everything about what's going on, what we're being told, is a lie. If Hegseth's lips are moving, he's lying. If President Trump's lips are moving, he's lying when it comes to this war against Iran. And this is going to be a disaster for America on so many levels. Yeah.
You mentioned before in Congress, you mentioned recently when you were on Redacted, about this isn't a formidable opponent right over here. This guy can punch back. This is in Venezuela. This is in Iraq. This is a nation of 93 million people that are now united. And really, to tell you the truth, the American media is trying to hide all this stuff. But let's stay where we're at, because I have a question as pertaining to who we're fighting this war for, right? There are people out there who will constantly say that the root of the problem is Israel, that Israel controls everything. They wag the dog. However, I believe that it's a little bit different than that, because America, the Western corporations, the multinational corporations that aren't necessarily 100% Zionist, they might be Zionist sympathizers, they make a ton of money when it comes to these wars. You know, Smedley Butler, right? Back in the days, war is a racket. There's a lot of money to be made. You know, I want to talk about something you also said about, later on in the interview, as far as like cannibalism and the elites and the pedophilia and whatnot. But right now, is it safe to say that this is more like a cabal, that it's not just Israel wagging the tail or wagging the dog, however you want to put it, that this is more about a global cabal and not just Israel alone?
Well, Israel and the United States have a symbiotic relationship here. However, it must be recognized that Israel is committing genocide against the people of Gaza with the assistance of the United States.
Yeah.
U.S. cut off all aid to Israel. Israel couldn't do what it's doing to the people in Gaza. And the U.S. is looking the other way at the dispossession of land that is occurring because of settlers and their violence against the people in the West Bank. I mean, this is horrific. And anyone with a shred of decency or a sense of morality would have to look at it and say, this is wrong, stop it. But the U.S. keeps going on. Now, the point you made about Smedley Butler saying, the general who said war's a racket. Well, we were warned by George Washington in his farewell address against foreign entanglement. Other presidents gave the same warning. General of the Army and President Dwight D. Eisenhower said, beware of the military-industrial complex. So are there more interests than the Israel and the United States working to benefit from this? Of course there are. And but for the most part, well, there might be a few people who are going to cash in from a war. The cost is being shifted onto the taxpayers in terms of more money going for war. Right now, over 50% of our discretionary spending goes for war. If President Trump's request for $1.5 trillion just for the Pentagon in the next budget goes through, that will constitute roughly 80% of our discretionary spending. So we have become the Sparta of the 21st century. This is not what the American people voted for.
Yeah.
This is not what they expected. And our quality of life will continue to deteriorate here. And higher energy costs, as you pointed out earlier, are in the offing. And there's no end in sight. There's controls that can be made, release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, release the sanctions against Iranian oil, 120 million barrels that the government's going to unsanction, according to reports out of the Treasury Department. But look, long term, when you start to blow up the infrastructure that produces oil and gas, it takes a long time to rebuild. There is a knock-on effect of this war. And the other part's going to be a diminishing of America's role in the world. We're just seen now as a marauder when, I've been proud to be an American, but I'm sure as hell not proud of what direction this country has been going in terms of its aggression, in terms of its mindless aggression, in terms of its unaccountability, in terms of violation of the Constitution and violation of international law.
Going along the same lines of what we're talking about here, a lot of the people in Iran and a lot of the analysts and media figures in Iran and even the political leadership, the IRGC, have mentioned this as the Epstein War, right? This is like the Epstein regime fighting Iran. And they have even alluded to fighting this evil. For the victims of Epstein, this has become, in a weird way, as you mentioned earlier, kind of like a holy war, but we're actually not on the good side of things as the United States. I'm referencing, and it does seem like there is this layer of the fact that we have Palantir, Israeli spyware, we have this surveillance type of technology that is ever increasing, tied to our military infrastructure, tied to the intelligence apparatus that may have even just killed all of these children in Iran. And when you look at the fact that the Epstein files revealed so much, but also nobody went to jail, and you look at the fact of who's making money from all of this, would it actually be true to say that the same type of cabal, as Pasta just said, is kind of leading this war against Iran and sacrificing U.S. lives, children's lives abroad the world? They, abuse children and then they kill them and bomb them. Is there any truth to, calling this an Epstein war?
Well, is Epstein a factor in going to war? Of course it is. It's a way to change the discussion, but it won't end the discussion by any means. What the thread that runs through everything that Epstein has been reported to be about and going to war against Iran is this: gross immorality, no sense of ethics whatsoever, no concern about children and what they represent, the destruction of innocence, and the attempt to confuse people as to what it's about. Now, the emails that have surfaced so far, at least that have been reported, raise some of them, and with respect to Epstein, raise some of the most lurid accounts of murder of children, of drinking their blood, of cannibalism. I don't know about you, but I will tell you, I don't watch horror pictures because I don't want that into my consciousness. But what this Epstein episode or narrative represents is a consciousness of things that are not theatrical, they're real. And it translates directly into a war which would kill 180 children. It translates directly into a reckless approach in the use of military power. It translates directly into I don't care approach on a part of our leaders. I can do whatever I want. And that lack of accountability, the lack of humanity, the inability to be able to express a scintilla of moral accountability would take us in a descent to hell. And frankly, I'm not interested in that ride. And I don't think most Americans are either.
Okay, let's stay here because this is interesting, because I agree with everything you're saying there, right? But you did mention cannibalism, and there are people who believe, and we've heard all this talk about Anthony Weiner's laptop, and Sydney, what's her name, Sidney Powell, or is that her name? I can't remember her name. One of the Trump's lawyers had said hardened men in the military looked at that and lost their lunch. It was so awful that there's a lot of secrets. Obviously, the QAnon conspiracies that get so ridiculous, out of control, and just go way over the top. There is some reality to that. You've been in Congress. I know you probably can't disclose what you've seen, but is there this cannibalism, child sacrificing from the elites that really does exist within our society? Because people are saying that, in Iran, they burnt a Baal statue, which is a satanic statue. And I heard they just did that somewhere in Mexico recently. So this is more than just scuttlebutt. This is more than just rumors. And, back in the days, I remember the media attacking you from your beliefs on UFOs or your UFO, story. I mean, they literally attacked you But then now the government has declassified and said UFOs do exist. Where do we stand on this whole cannibalism kind of thing? What do you believe is out there that we should be aware of?
First of all, in Washington, the truth is an unidentified flying object. People can't tell the truth anymore.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the and pay attention to the accounts of people who were children on Epstein's Island, the photos that have emerged, and the emails that allude to this behavior that I've talked about. To say, wait a minute, what was this all about? Was Epstein just trying to entrap people so he could get compromise on them to be able to report back to his handlers that he is able to cause person A, B, or C to be compromised to the point where they would have to do whatever Israel wanted, for example. I can tell you this. I have not spent the kind of time that others have on this issue, but I've spent enough of it to know that it represents a kind of illegal, gross, immoral degradation of children. And, I think it's in the Bible where it talks about if you scandalize children, you should have a millstone put around your neck and cast into the water. And I don't think there's anything worse. If nothing else was proven, but for what we understood, that they were shipping children over to that island for the enjoyment and entertainment of adult men. What else would we need to know beyond that? To me, that's the worst that could happen, and everything else after that, whether proven or conjectural, might be compounding. But as far as I'm concerned, the line was crossed when that first child was delivered to Epstein's Island.
Yeah.
Shifting over a little bit, the United States under Donald Trump has been one of the most warmongering entities right now. And we know that president's shift in our foreign policy largely remains the same, but we're talking about the invasion of Venezuela, the kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the assassination of several of Iran's top leadership. There's invasions in Ecuador. The United States is clearly completely suffocating Cuba, an island nation with no other recourse now. And it's not just doing that. It is threatening any countries trying to intervene and help. And I haven't seen this level of very, very strong, outright, overt type of actions from any president yet. And you said the American people didn't vote for this, right? But that's what we're getting. That's what a lot of people thought, maybe it can't get worse than Joe Biden. Yet we still have the conflict in Ukraine that Donald Trump said he would end very quickly. How do you look at foreign policy right now? Why is the United States trying to then capture all of Latin America, capture also with Israel, of course, as its decoy, as its area in the region, and simultaneously also always targeting China? Where do you see this heading? Is this about getting at China on equal level and competing eventually? What is the end game here for the Trump administration and further for the intelligence apparatus?
These are very important questions that you've raised. So let me try to pick them apart. First, with respect to the role of the Pentagon and defense contractors in the wars that have occurred since World War II. Every president, with the possible exception of Jimmy Carter, has put us in a position which extended America's power into different spheres or tried to reinforce American power. And they did it with the help of over 800 military bases around the world. The United States, because of those bases, has always been in a position where it would try to dominate other countries. The Middle East in particular represents a very important case in point. Of course, Latin America, as you mentioned, in the 50s and the 60s and some of the early 70s, but then you go to the Middle East where it's been, we had Vietnam, by the way, where perhaps as many as 6 million people died, innocent people died in the bombings of Vietnam and Cambodia. And then you go to the Middle East and you look at Iraq, at Libya, at and now Iran as major cases in point. You look at Gaza, you look at the West Bank, you look at Yemen. The U.S. is involved in all of these. And this administration has extended the U.S.'s move to countries, most of them smaller, almost all of them smaller. And so now we come to China. Look, let me tell you, we are at the end of the age of empire. We cannot dominate the world. We can't afford to dominate the world. These wars are a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of human lives. The pretense that somehow we're going to go toe to toe with China after we've already given them the store in terms of the China trade, which accelerated the loss of our steel, automotive, aerospace, and shipping industries after NAFTA and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades. Our strategic industrial base has been weakened. We have a monetary system which is a disaster, where they can keep printing money for things that we don't need and not spending money on things that we do need. The rising debt, which is 38 trillion now, add to that more debt. America's in a weakened position. The dollar's in a weakened position. The rise of BRICS, of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America with Iran represents a new trading bloc, a different economic bloc using a different currency, in this case, the yuan. America is going downhill because of the policies, not just of this administration, but of other administrations which have preferred war over peace to perhaps prime the pump of an economy that became more and more about war. Where should America go? We have to eliminate these military bases. We have to step back from pretending to be the omnipotent power of the world. We must start taking care of the basic needs of the American people for jobs that are worthwhile and that can produce a decent income, for affordable housing, for healthcare, for education, childcare. These are the kinds of things that mean something to people's everyday lives. The aspirations of the American people are not for war, and they're for the good things in life, which they're being denied because of war.
Yeah. I want to stay a little bit with that right there when you talk about close these bases, because immigration's a big thing for us. Fiorella is originally she is Peruvian. I'm Italian American, but we do spend a lot of time in Latin America observing elections. I think over the last 3 years, we've been to 8 different countries. We've observed 5 general elections. But we also try to get a temperature of what's also going on down there. Why is there so much migration coming to the border? We see it's these bases, because it's not just a bases set up and they're renting or leasing space. It's an occupation, because the CIA is always involved with these governments trying to pick their rulers, trying to pick their leaders, keeping the countries destabilized as possible. So then so much migration flows to the border. ICE is also another entity where a lot of people, a lot of independents, not just, lefties, but they don't want a national police force that was also told to violate the Constitution by going into houses without judicial warrants. How does this all play together? If we close these bases in Latin America, will that also lead to less migration to the border?
Well, if we quit interfering in the government of various countries in Latin America and trying to choose their leader, as we did in Venezuela recently, each country should have a chance to expressed its own right to sovereignty. And the U.S. has not respected the sovereignty of any country at any time. And so we have to come to grips with what we've become as a nation. This is not what was intended. We were not intended to be a Leviathan or to be like a cyclops roaming around the world looking for dragons to slay. Because now we're blinded and lashing out in places where it makes no sense. And not that anything since World War II ever made sense. But I will tell you that if you look at the connection between, there is a connection between war and immigration. There always is. You know, people become refugees. They're looking for places to go. And you know, and isn't it the words of, or aren't the words of Emma Lazarus inscribed on the base of the Statue of Liberty? Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these the tempest tossed to me. And then we lift the lamp beside the golden door. That has been the promise of America. But when you look beneath the promise at the policies which have accelerated migration towards the United States, it would make sense not only to remove our bases, but to remove the presence of the Central Intelligence Agency in these various countries. When you start doing that, you have collectively hundreds of billions of dollars more to take care of the American people, to be able to meet their healthcare needs, for example. So you're right. There is a direct connection, often, maybe not always, but often, between American foreign policy, which is generally based on economic exploitation and resource exploitation, and wars for resources or attempts to overturn governments to have someone who is congenial to exploitation of the country, and the mass migration, the movement to the border, where people are just looking to get away from those awful circumstances that they've found themselves in the country of their birth.
Well, everything you said is accurate in terms of, you know, the state of the union, but the question I think many people have is, how do you do that? I mean, people thought maybe voting for, you know, 10 years ago, they thought Bernie Sanders was a possibility, and then we know what happened with that. Then Tulsi Gabbard, then RFK Jr., right? We have seen this sort of attempts, and even Donald Trump, during his first run, presented a supposed alternative to all of this. And even during his second run, people still thought maybe, you know, the first was he couldn't do anything. Maybe this time he'll not put the intelligence assets in his campaign. Instead, of course, he put Miriam Adelson entirely in his cabinet. And, you know, it seems electoral politics is not working. People are not getting the right representation. We have the uniparty of Democrats and Republicans that are not really doing anything for the American people, that are captured by Israel, by corporate structures. It really, at this point, doesn't even matter, because they are captured and they're not doing their job as civil servants. So what is the solution then? You know, to continue voting, to continue electing people that are eventually, you know, captured or pushed out, like we've seen, or is there an alternate solution to recapturing this government that seems to be lost?
Well, first of all, your questions go to the heart of what our dilemma is right now, and that is we do not have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We have a government of elites, by elites, and for elites. The changes in campaign finance law that came about as a result of two cases, Buckley versus Vallejo and Citizens United, which declared that money was free speech and opened the door for corporate domination of both political parties, because there really is no effective difference between the two parties right now. And so we then go to what can be done. to reclaim our republic, our constitutional form of government. I would say, first of all, while America has an obligation to defend itself, we must know the difference between defense and offense. America has been on the offense. And as a result, we must take away this offensive capacity. And that means that instead of our government being run chiefly to service a military industrial complex, we must do the following. Take down the 800 bases around the world. Stop the inflationary growth of the military budget and bring it back to perhaps what it was at the time of the Clinton administration, about $400 billion, and keep building it back. We have an obligation to defend this country, but that obligation has been twisted, and it has been misstated. And so we must start to fund our basic programs for jobs, for healthcare, for education, for the basic economic aspirations, the practical aspirations of the American people, for decent neighborhoods and safe communities. We aren't doing that, but that's what we must do. And this whole idea about intelligence. Look at what Joe Kent did. He resigned because he knew that Israel and AIPAC pushed this administration into a war that we should not be involved in. And since AIPAC contributes to so many members of Congress, you have had very little objection to the war. Yeah. This is a inflection point for the country because we're at war without constitutional approval and against a nation that was not a threat. And we must stop this impulse to war. War should really be made illegal unless, of course, we are attacked. And we haven't been attacked by Iran.
Ever.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, I just gave you just off the cuff some things that can be done, but the major thing is to stop this empire building, stop this effort to try to tell other countries how to run their business. It's none of our business, and we need to have good economic relations because we haven't had that, and because we've used military power to extend our influence. What's happening? People are drawing away from the United States. This is not going to end well, believe me. Yeah. And so was the electoral system capable of producing individuals or an individual could come forward and say, we're going to wipe the slate clean. We're going to start from a position that was consistent with the way that George Washington and the founders laid out a country with respect to its limited use of military force. That's the direction we must go, or we are going to be hoisted on our own, at the tip of our own sword.
Last question, Congressman, and I'm only going to bring it up because since you brought it up, and you've been bringing up a lot of stuff. It's like you almost we're on the same wavelength today because a lot of the questions I have had written down, you've mentioned stuff before I've got to ask my question. I'm going to ask about healthcare. Because I remember that Barack Obama took you on a ride for Air Force One, trying to get you to get your vote for healthcare. The last time we saw each other in public was that event, and Gary Null was also there speaking.
Right, I know Gary.
I'm a lefty who did not go along with everything with the COVID mandated shot at all, and I saw a lot of leaks and a lot of hypocrisy and a lot of captured entities by big pharma in our healthcare system. However, I said I'm not for a universal healthcare system because we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system, but there are a lot of things, that a Western healthcare system is necessary for people who are at the edge. In other words, people who have diabetes, right? Their insulin, it's really important. My question to you, and the final question for today, is a crappy healthcare system better than no healthcare system at all? I mean, I know we can't have nice things because we're spending most of our discretionary spending, like you mentioned, on war. But what are your thoughts when I ask that question about the healthcare system?
Well, I wrote the bill with John Conyers for Medicare for All. And I was the last Democrat to hold out against the Obama administration's plan. And nothing the president said on the ride that we took to Cleveland on Air Force One gave me any kind of comfort that there was going to be a major shift in healthcare if his plan passed. People in my district, however, wanted their children to be covered up to age 26. They wanted pre-existing conditions covered. And, you know, I mean, they sent me to Congress. And notwithstanding my advocacy of universal single-payer, not-for-profit healthcare, I voted for it based on what my constituents wanted. I still continue to advocate for universal healthcare. And is it possible? Yes. Can we have a system that sharply reduces costs? Yes. Can we have a system that enables all Americans to have access to healthcare? Of course we can. In Congress, I advocated alternative healthcare. I advocated access to naturopathic medicine, to chiropractors, to herbalists, because people should have some choice as to the kind of care they think works for them. I'll give you an example, a real personal example. At age 21, I almost died from Crohn's disease. And it took years later. I had major surgery of all kinds. And years later, I adopted a vegan diet 31 years ago and added to that Chinese herbal medicine. I don't have Crohn's anymore. Now, you know, that's a shorthand for saying that I think when any one of us takes control of our own healthcare and has the options to do so within a system that doesn't cost us an arm and a leg, chances are we might be able to be at a point in our life where we can express the fullness of health and be able to live a good life. Healthcare is a single issue in this country that has not been met. The insurance companies keep cashing in on this system. The pharmaceutical companies keep cashing in on the system. And I remain convinced that it is possible to have a universal system of care that would give people the options that they need in order to find their own individual path towards health.
Yeah. Chinese medicine. I used it. I had the inflammation. I had to change the diet. I want more on a what do you call it? Candida diet. So I didn't go vegan like you. The vegan diet didn't do well with me, but I went on that particular, and I with Chinese medicine, I think it's important. And I wish it was covered in my healthcare plan, but my acupuncture is not. The Chinese medicines, the herbs are not, and functional medicine, everything's out of pocket. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us today. And please give our love to your wife, Elizabeth. She's amazing. I got to meet her at the Rage Against the War Machine rally.
Her background in agroecology, and in particular on this farm bill, which is riddled with dangerous riders that will keep poisoning the American people. You should have her on.
Love to have her on.
She is an expert on this.
Yeah. She's an amazing activist, an amazing person. And I think you're an amazing person yourself. Thank you so much for always fighting the good fight. Nothing surprised me of what you said today. It was just vintage Kucinich, which is, like I said, some of the last of the Mohicans. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks to both of you. And, I appreciate it. And make sure you follow up with Elizabeth because
we will.
She's terrific.
For sure.
Thanks.
See you next time. Bye.
Congressman Dennis Kucinich, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He definitely is one of the last few good ones. Him and Cynthia, definitely.
Him and Cynthia McKinney.
We're not going to be allowed to have any of those anytime soon. I mean, we got the squad or the squat. it's quite depressing when you look at the state of things, right? It is quite depressing to see where we went from to where we are. It's complete decline in so many ways. I mean, none of these people right now are, there's a few holdouts, but it's pretty sad. And, I usually don't focus very much on U.S. domestics anymore, right? U.S. domestic policy, but this kind of encompasses both, right? Like this interview touched on both, because again, this is all we're doing in the world. All we're representing is this foreign policy, right? Of terrorism, essentially, of imperialism, of destruction. And, the cost isn't really going to be on the Trumps of the world. It's going to be on everybody else, right? This is why people are saying, why don't you send Barron to the war? Why don't we send the children of these elites to war?
Yeah. And let me say something. You hit something right on the nose. By the way, we put up our Give, Send, Go in the chat, guys. Please help us out. We got to get on the ground. If you can't give anything, if you can't give any money, please hit the share button. It's right there. We got Fam's face. I'll block my face out. There's my pretty face. Look at my hair. I look like a fat Ben Swan. Eric V. Munn, thank you so much. One of the best independent podcasts. Love you too. Always right on point. Thank you for your show. If it's still March, it must be Fiorella's birthday. That was 2 days ago. So let's get the likes. Let's get the shares going. Let's get that going on. What an amazing guest. I mean, fam, we've had Karen Kwiatkowski on the show, Danny Shaw on the show, Dennis Kucinich on the show. I mean, it's just going to keep coming. There's going to be more great guests. We need your help, guys. If you can, if you can't give, share, help us on out. But I'm going to confidently say today, too, as well, because now there's a lot of confusion out there. Donald Trump went, it's AI, fam, with the people in the streets. It's not real. And then he talked about, he directed his FEC director to tell people that they're going to start pulling their licenses. I mean, this is everything that supposedly goes against what the Trump people wanted. A free and open, fair press. No censorship. This is censorship at another level. And I know the No Kings March is coming up, corporately sponsored. It's bullshit. Their idea is that the Democrats got to get back in office. We're mitigating damage over here. The lesser of two evils argument. It's bullshit. It is. But, I mean, Donald Trump is acting like a king. I didn't get to ask Dennis Kucinich because I know he would have had an opinion about Donald Trump using the AUMF, the authorized use of military force, to wage these wars. We've had Mark Slobod on. He's mentioned that pretty much the Congress has abdicated that responsibility to the president. And this is the danger in itself. The Congress has become completely, taking their hands off of this. They can politically posture when they want to, but they've pretty much given the power to the president, and they didn't try to stop him before it happened. They all knew it was going to happen. They came out and virtue signaled after, fam. But I strongly believe, and you just mentioned that it's going to be passed on to us, not the elites. These expenses are, and when the energy crisis that's going to happen, I do honestly believe that Iran is taking it to the United States. Yes, I can't confirm when I see something online. It could be AI, it can't be AI, but multiple sources have been confirming. And maybe you should go to my tweet first, Jayme, if you bring up my tweet, because I made a tweet, fam, and it didn't get as much action as the first one when I said, the Iranian media is hiding the deaths and the injured of the United States. Robert Barnes, and I'm not a big fan of Robert Barnes, but I do agree with him on certain stuff. He made a tweet and said the other day, it says, we're now at the point of hide the coffins part of the war. No, go up to the top. Leave it there. Yeah. And this is something I got from somebody on the ground, a friend. Iranian media is reporting close to 1,500 Iranians killed in the U.S.-Israel bombing. Now, they could be lying about that. That's what one entity does, while also touting a 63rd wave of strikes on regional energy infrastructure as a success. That's what we're hearing. And what I'm seeing, fam, shortly after I made this tweet, all of a sudden we're hearing reports, we're seeing video. Qatar was hit, one of their largest natural gas refineries. Saudi Aramco, a $1 trillion business, was told they were told their workers to get the hell on out, right? To evacuate immediately, and then it was hit. We heard that someplace in the UAE was hit. Kuwait was hit. All these energy infrastructure places are hit. Plus, we're seeing reports that they're shooting down American jets. the Iranian media is also reporting that they're having air supremacy. In other words, what the Iranian media is reporting is that they have no defense systems now when they're hitting Israel. We saw Ben Gurion get hit the other day. We saw Haifa get hit. They are taking it to the mat, fam. And I am scared that the Samson option might come into play. Your initial thoughts before we dive into this? We got some evidence backing up some of the things. We got a great article from Marwa. I mean, fam, gas went up yesterday like 50 cents in Florida. Shit's about to hit the fan. It's about to hit the fan, and we're all going to suffer. And Donald Trump is still consistently lying about bullshit that's going on out there.
So I asked one of our friends yesterday that I spoke to in LA how much gas was, and she said it's 5 something, almost 6. You know, luckily she has an electric car, but everybody else that doesn't have one, you know, it's kind of suffering. And I mean, this is only the beginning, because you're absolutely right. I believe Iran is not lying. I don't think they have to lie. I think that they are showing everybody through their actions that they mean business. They mean that they are going to target anybody that is targeting them. And you know, again, killing Ali Larijani isn't going to stop them. There is a video I want to show later about what one of the late Iranian leadership in the military have said, the IRGC. And, you know, I think people need to understand what they mean when this is happening. And I think the only people that have the reason to lie are Washington, because they made a very, very big mistake. They miscalculated. They underestimated Iran. And I think it's important to know that they have lied to us before. So if I'm going to go with who's lying, I'm going to go with, you know, the United States. I mean, when have they not lied?
And let's just talk about, let's bring the article up. This is what happened several days ago. This is another level, fam. This is something new, right? The United States and Israel wasn't necessarily going after energy infrastructure of Iran, right? And even Donald Trump had said, I didn't want to do that, but you know, it's going on. So let's put the article up. Let's start. This is from Kyle Anzalone. Israel strikes world's largest natural gas field in Iran. So it says, and this is by Kyle Anzalone, Tel Aviv claimed that Washington approved the attack. Very important. Israel bombed facilities at the South Pars natural gas field in Iran. The world's largest natural gas field is under the Persian Gulf and is split between Iran and Qatar. Kind of stupid to fucking bomb one of the allies, supposedly, where they have bases, American bases, that are helping protect Israel. But, you know, Israel doesn't care. On Wednesday, strikes hit facilities in Iran's Bushehr province tied to the gas field. Following the attack, Israeli officials told Axios that the operation was conducted in coordination and with the approval of the White House. A source speaking with AP claimed that while Washington was aware, Tel Aviv planned to strike the gas field, and the U.S. did not participate or give its approval. According to Iranian media, the strike sparked a fire that emergency crews are working to extinguish. The Iranian military said it would respond to an attack by striking energy facilities in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. In other words, fam, they said, you want to F around? Now you're going to find out. If you want to hit our energy infrastructure, we're going to hit the energy infrastructure in the region. These centers have become direct and legitimate targets and will be targeted in the coming hours. And they told them, guys, get the hell out. We're not talking about days. Hours missiles are coming. Therefore, all citizens, residents, and employees are requested to immediately leave these areas and move to a safe distance without any delay, Iran's IRGC explained in a statement. Tehran's threat caused a spike in global oil prices, with Brent crude up 5%. And you can go to antiwar.com and read the rest of the article. But oil spiking up. This is an energy crisis right now. I mean, Dennis Kucinich mentioned that they've released some of the reserves and stuff, and they're trying to hold face, but they're not going to be able to hold the line too long, fam, because this was stupid. Why on earth, in your opinion, would they do this, fam?
Well, I mean, I think they wanted to show that they could take down Iran. A lot of people are debating this question. They're thinking maybe they did this on purpose, right? Maybe the United States did this on purpose because they want to destroy everything. I don't think so. I think sometimes we give too much credit to the people at the top, and we think that they're incapable of making mistakes. But they literally, the arrogance is this downfall, right? It's hubris. They thought they could come in and destroy Iran very quickly, and they were severely mistaken, because Iran has been preparing for this war for a long time, and they are ready for it. And I think a lot of people thought that they could just destabilize Iran the same way they've destabilized pretty much every other country. But again, we're talking about the Persians, we're talking about the cradle of civilization, we're talking about people that have an intelligence that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, and even in their so-called propaganda, their responses have been very intelligent. And there's a lack of cultural understanding as well that I think played into this severely, where the United States operates like decapitation wise, thinking, okay, if we decapitate the top leadership, that's it, they're done. They don't operate like that. They're not afraid of death. So I think
with Godfather, fam.
Yeah, exactly. They're operating like that.
Yeah, Donald Trump has always been like that. They're gonna whack him. Let's go to this next tweet, which says more of the same, but it does give a little explanation of something I want to point out. It says that Israel and the United States struck South Pars, pretty much saying if Israel hits something, United States hits it, right? Like that's where the weapons are coming from. That's okay. You can't separate the two. And let that sink in. The IRGC just declared all major energy facilities across the entire Gulf Coast region as direct and legitimate targets, as warned strikes are coming in the coming hours. Listed targets: Qatar's LNG complex, Saudi Aramco facilities, and oil terminals, everything. Saudi Aramco has already evacuated workers from the refinery in Yanbu. They are not waiting. Iranian hackers have already hit Aramco's digital systems. I want to go down. Multiple explosions in Riyadh, confirmed by Reuters. Do you understand the scale of what's happening? So Qatar's LNG complex is the largest on Earth, and it supplies 30% of the world's liquefied natural gas. If Iran hits it, and it did, Europe's heating supply disappears overnight. Not in months, overnight. Saudi Aramco is the most valuable company on the planet, worth $1,800,000,000,000. I think that is, fam, or am I saying it right? Or is that a zillion? I don't even know. It's ridiculous. It processes 12 million barrels per day. Fam, they evacuated it. And not to mention, Yemen has now jumped into the fight. So they understand what Saudi Aramco is all about. 2019, a single drone attack on Saudi Aramco's Abiqua facility knocked out 5.7 million barrels per day and sent oil up 15% in one session. Iran now has 10 times the motivation and nothing left to lose. And let's not forget, when it was hit by Yemen. It was hit by the Houthis. This is Iran. And if Iran hits it and hits it hard, the whole region's fucked. They're now showing you precision strikes on Iranian targets. They're not showing you that those strikes just gave Iran the justification to destroy every oil facility from Qatar to Saudi Arabia to the UAE. So you bomb the gas field that is jointly owned, and this is their logic. So they said everything's up for grabs. So it pretty much just repeats more of the same. And we're going to go over and we're going to show you some of the stuff they've hit, fam. But your initial thoughts, because I also want to lay out Donald Trump. I mean,
just show Trump.
Yeah, it's just Trump's. Look at Trump's comments over here from the White House. Look at what this asshole says. Fam, can I do it in my Trump voice?
Yeah.
Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of a hole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this attack, this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have an idea that was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel. He puts it in caps, fan, like as if, like, you know, there are times where Israel has been so ridiculous that the United States and Donald Trump even has to separate himself from him. This is one of the things. And there's no more attacks will be made by Israel. I let them know, since I'm the king, pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Fam, he's trying to separate himself from it, right?
Yeah.
Israel then came out after this tweet, and they said, whoa, 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 what is he talking about? Israel says it was sanctioned and coordinated with the United States. Once again, this time by Dave DeCamp. I'm not going to read the article, but they were like, what are you talking about? They sanctioned this. Donald Trump's trying to lie about it, or is he telling the truth about it, fam? But, I mean, there's also something to point out that he's trying to threat that they're going to hit back hard if it gets hit again. Hey, buddy, you're not scaring the Iranians anymore. You got nothing to threaten them with anymore. You saw their people in the street. Bombing is going on in the background. You have nothing on them. It was like that scene in with Heath Ledger as the Joker, and Batman's beating him up and he's hitting him hard. He goes, "You got nothing to threaten me with." He doesn't fear death. The Iranian people don't fear death, fam. He's got nothing. He's got what the Italians say, Donald Trump, you got ugats.
I don't believe for a second that the United States didn't know what Israel was going to do. I think things have gotten so bad that Donald Trump is trying to create some distance. Like, he always does this, right? A lot of people have fallen for it in the last couple of years when Donald Trump and Bibi had a fight. Remember how many times people thought, oh, yes, the United States, they're fighting with Israel. Donald Trump's actually not going to listen to Bibi. What ended up happening, guys? Like, time and time again, we see this when they want to distract, when they want to show some decoy. And now people don't even know if Netanyahu's alive and have been focused on that, when ultimately that doesn't matter, because, Netanyahu is also replaceable in Israel. There's far worse than him even, which is kind of hard to say and think about, but, there is. And so
there's somebody out there, fam, with 7 fingers.
Maybe 8, who knows? But, I think this is a little bit of desperation, a little bit of bravado and showmanship, but really, they know. The United States has to know that they're in a sticky situation. And I think eventually he's going to have to find an off-ramp to this where it looks like, all right, well, we're just going to, get off. Or Israel's going to have to, use the Samson option, which is exactly what I think a lot of people are fearing. And the consequences of that, I think, will be absolutely, I think, devastating. And anybody that tries to justify that going forward, right, with how Israel and the United States are behaving, it's just not going to go well either way. So,
yeah. Well, fam, let's Jayme, get back up. You put it up, the Middle East Observer. You already put my tweet up there, but let's put up the Middle East Observer again. I want to look at that list one more time because it's very important. This is what they hit the other day. Thank you so much, Jayme. Saudi Arabia, they hit Riyadh, the capital, but they also hit U.S. aircraft fuel stocks. Now, we have heard that a refueling plane they tried to say that there was a malfunction, what happened, and it went down. But a lot of people are saying, no, Iraqis shut it down at the behest of Iran, right? There's a resistance over there. They shot down a plane. Now Iran hit Riyadh and is hitting those bases. The Jubail port in Saudi Arabia, Aramco, and I believe it's called Yanbu. I think it's the other side on the west side of the country in Saudi Arabia. There's another refinery that hit. Maybe that's the Aramco refinery. It's the same one. Bahrain, fam. And we're going to talk more about Bahrain. I'm so glad that you mentioned Bahrain the other day. There's going to be an uprising in Bahrain one day. If it's not sooner than later, Bahrain's different than the UAE. It's different than Qatar. Culturally, like, when it comes to Qatar and the UAE, there's a lot of foreigners that live there. Bahrain, there's a lot of Shia there. It used to be part of Iran. They just hit over there the other day in Bahrain, successful strikes on the King Fahd Bridge. And that's the connection between Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. The liquefied natural gas facilities in the outskirts of the bridge were hit between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So something's going to happen right there. I don't know. I think that Saudi Arabia doesn't want to have Bahrain be too close to Iran, but there's a chance that, like I said, there's a lot of Shia there that eventually there's an uprising. I don't want to talk too much because I don't want the kingdom of Bahrain coming after me, but that's a possibility, and that's something they have to watch out. In Qatar, Ras Laffan, the most important gas facility in Qatar. Occupied territories were hit. Israel was hit yesterday. Tel Aviv, Haifa, Ben Gurion Airport, all these other Gaza envelope, it says. I mean, it was hit hard yesterday, fam. And the very next tweet, Jayme, I believe, is a picture of the LGN gas plant in Qatar. And you can see it going up in flames, fam. They hit it yesterday. I've been seeing a lot of this. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. And a lot of Europe gets its oil and natural gas from this fucking plant over here.
Yep.
Crazy. The next one is regional. This is the article by Marwa, right? So she talked about this. Marwa Osman, is it Osman or Osman? Osman. She follows me. I should know how to say her name right. She wrote this. She says, "Are you bracing yourself for an economic earthquake? After Israel struck Iran's South Pars field, Tehran did not just respond. Oh no, it escalated the battlefield into global energy system itself. Drones and missiles hit critical Persian Gulf monarchies' infrastructures. Yanbu in Saudi Arabia, Ras Laffan in Qatar, and tankers off the UAE coast. And this was early because there's more information coming in. Oil surged past $110 a gallon. And just like that, regional conflict ends. And in coming in the episode, global conflict, right? The regional conflict ends, and now comes the global conflict. I mean, there's still going to be a regional conflict, but it's going to get bad, and it's going to hit Western economies already hanging on by a thread. We know this in Europe. It's been rough, you know what I'm saying? But it's going to get really bad over there. People don't understand what's going to happen. This is going to affect us at home, and there's no way out. They're complaining that the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. It's not going to open up. There's been a coalition. Italy, Germany, France, United States, Japan. They said they're going to start escorting vessels through. It doesn't matter. Iran will hit it. There's more military, United States military, more Marines going there. Vessels are starting to head that way. They look like they're preparing for a ground invasion. But also, fam, you've been reporting on this too as well. Meanwhile, on the Lebanese front, Hezbollah is rewriting the rules of ground warfare. Knock on wood. And I would say knock on wood because they are trying to separate South Lebanon from the rest of Lebanon. Obviously, fam, you talked about the issues that are going on with the government and how it's looked upon with Hezbollah. But she's also talking about that. You can go to her Twitter, guys, and read more. But fam, what she just talked about, this global now economic crisis that's about to hit, I want to hear your thoughts and also maybe about what's going on in Lebanon, because there's a lot of bombing going on in Lebanon right now.
Yeah. I mean, she's absolutely right about Hezbollah pushing back. And that's the thing, that's why yesterday, or I believe Steve Sweeney was attacked by an Iranian Israeli missile that directly hit behind him, because what the Israelis are trying to do, that I think a lot of us have reported on recently, is they're trying to redo a Nakba of the south of Lebanon and cut it off. That's more than 1 million people that they're trying to ethnically cleanse by forcing out of their homes, basically dropping leaflets like the Nazis and saying, move or we're going to bomb you into oblivion. And that's essentially what they're doing. They're bombing bridges. So people either who don't get out have no way of getting out. And they want to get rid of that. They want to make that like occupied Palestine, right? And so basically Hezbollah is pushing back, destroying these tankers, and so they've been trying to send in the Jolani thugs from Syria. They've been trying to get these terrorist factions to come up in Iraq, and Iraq is fighting, the Iraqi resistance has been fighting them on the other end as well. So you're seeing this multi front approach by Israel attacking Lebanon, because they see that Lebanon could be the way to kind of surround Tehran, right? So that's why you're seeing all the attacks on Lebanon.
There's also another tweet, fam, as well, just to reaffirm, and that's crazy because I think how many people have now filed for like emergency status in Lebanon, refugee status? Is like over 1 million or something. Like they've been displaced. I think I can't remember who filed for. I don't know how you file or claim whatever, but they're displacing people all over South Lebanon. By the way, this is they say that the drones, you got it, hit Kuwait, 2 oil fields in Kuwait. That's another one. They hit a military base in Kuwait. So this is still escalating as we speak. You know, Iran is destroying the infrastructure, the oil infrastructure in this area, saying if you want to hit us, now everything's open. And that should cause the region to say, no more, get the hell out of here. Like, you know, I think the king, if I don't know if that's what you call him, the prince of Qatar, was on, you know, complaining about stuff the other day. And, you know, it's like, hey, man, you're complicit, is what Iran said. You have U.S. military bases there. You let U.S. military satellite systems go there. You are aiding the enemy. Fair game for you, fam. That's what they've been saying. And they're hitting oil fields everywhere. Iran said, F around and find out. And now that's what they're doing. Yeah,
Iran did the F around and find out. I want to show this tweet about Lebanon, since we were talking about Lebanon.
Please.
Vanessa went to this area in Beirut. Beirut is the capital. Like, this is a major metropolitan city. This is the residential apartment block that was targeted by Israel. So when we talk about, you know, people condemning Iran for targeting areas where there were U.S. and Israeli military hiding out and hotels, well, this is a residential block, right? This is the heart of Beirut, and this is what Israel and the United States have been really doing day in and day out. So I wanted to pull that up. And another thing I want to mention here that I think needs to be shown is this video. And if we can show this video, Jayme, if you can show that video, if you can pull that one up. This is translated what was actually said by IRGC, by the Iranians. Let's listen to what he says. It's in English.
This is a firm warning to the criminals who attacked Iran's fuel and energy infrastructure in the south. As a result, fuel, energy, and gas facilities will burn to ashes at the first opportunity. To the cowardly American military and the brutal, child-killing Zionist regime, you've thrown your soldiers into the fire and destroyed your own credibility. The throats of your commanders and soldiers are beneath the boots of Islam's warriors. In your strategic confusion, the battlefield reality is clear. Think about the stunning events. You came with a victory scenario, while in your underground bunkers, you were scrambling for survival. Your era of bullying is over. Only escape from Iran's crushing strikes and operations is to leave the region or face death. Victory comes only from Allah, the Almighty, the Wise. This is a firm warning to the criminals.
So, I mean, they're not holding back, guys. No. Your era of bullying is over, finished, done. The way they're speaking, I mean, it's really wow. Like, they're just defending themselves, right? Well, they're defending themselves from our aggression, from the United States and Israel's destruction, from their aggression. They're not holding back. They're not going to stop. And Fam, anything to say on that?
Yeah, because once again, is that I don't know, Fam. Did we not know? Did the foreign policy apparatus not know that Iran could punch back this hard. I mean, we just had Dennis Kucinich on, and I mentioned that he said this is a nation of 93 million people. They can defend themselves. Their weaponry is good. He had mentioned that. Did they not know that? And I just want to put down that the rest of my tweet, I said, reports suggest newer, more advanced weapons are now in play. If confirmed, energy markets could react quickly. Gas prices may be heading up. But I really wanted to talk about that more advanced weapons are now in play. You have a video that you put in there, and these started coming out. And what I think has been going on is that the UAE said they downed a bunch of Iranian missiles coming their way. I think what they're still doing was launching all the old stuff out there so that they would bankrupt the United States. Dennis Kucinich talked about the fact that Pete Hegseth is going back and asking for an extra $200 billion, right? They already got 1.1 trillion. They want more money, 200 billion more, that they've spent so much. Well, Iran is also financially bleeding the United States, and it's costing us, the taxpayer, dollar money. It cost us $4 billion the other day to knock down a missile that cost the Iranians $250,000. And they have missiles underneath that the American hardware is using to take down. I mean, they're bankrupting us. You have a video over here, fam. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes people are saying, that's AI, but this is pretty convincing over here, fam. Talking about newer weapons. What's this?
Before, Jayme, you can pull up the tweet first if you want, before you play the video. Yeah, so this is Arya. He's Iranian, and he said it wasn't Russian air defenses. It wasn't Chinese air defenses. Some people need to hear this. It wasn't American air defenses. It was a fully domestically built Iranian air defense system that tracked and hit the stealth F-35, built by Iranian engineers during maximum sanctions. Okay, scroll up. If we can actually, understand this, right? Never been more proud to be Iranian. So this is what he said before. You can play the video here, and I'll just read Iran has published footage showing the exact moment when Iranian air defenses tracked and intercepted the American F-35 over central Iran. The IRGC says it locked and hit the F-35 over central Iran and severely damaged it. The F-35s that nobody thought could be destroyed. Let's just play the video.
Yeah. And I think there was reported 2 of them they got.
Yeah, it was more than one.
They either shot one down and one was really badly damaged that had to get away.
So, yeah, I mean,
Where was the other video?
It's AI. No, that's the video I have.
There was another video, though. I just was looking at one.
Okay, maybe it was your video.
Let me see.
Not one I was sharing. But what was I going to say about this? A lot of people keep saying, China provided this, China provided that. No, guys, let's stop taking away agency from Iran, because that's what the U.S. did. And look what happened. Iran has been doing this on their own. They've been using the Chinese satellites, but they haven't, all of these weapons, they have built themselves. They have been, working and using what they had, like any sort of weapons they had before from Russia, they've been using, but it's not anything new. Everything they've been doing mostly and using has been everything that they've built themselves. Don't underestimate these people, because they're literally telling you, like, no, this is like us. We're the ones doing this. We're the ones that are not going to stop just because these people want a ceasefire. Not after what we tried. They gave up. They were willing to give up so much, right? And in spite of that, they were attacked. So now they're not just going to play ball like that. And there's no reason for Iran to stop, not until they get what they want. So don't underestimate them.
I don't know if this is AI or whatnot. And I don't know, the News Now account has like 104,000, but it's a parody account. So yeah, I think it's AI they just put up there. But, they are kind of talking about all these other, I'm not going to play that because I can't confirm it. But it was another F-35 that was knocked out of the sky, supposedly. And if they can do that, if they can knock it out of the sky right now, because that's what Donald Trump had said, we're just flying all around there. Nothing can stop us. We're taking out the Navy. It's completely sunk on the bottom of the ocean, which is not, because you're not understanding the Iranian Navy. they have a bunch of small speedboats. It's like mosquito warfare. So, you know, at any time, if it gets really crazy, these boats can start, you know, just these speedboats going around the Med, you know, hundreds of them, thousands of them, and surround these aircraft carriers and suicide bombings and all that sort of things. And they have they can launch one like torpedo off a lot of these boats too as well. So people just don't understand the Iranian Navy, the military, and what's going on, how they manufacture all these weapons. But if this is true, and like I said, all these new other missiles they're talking about, they've been talking about on their media, and it looks like they're hitting a lot of targets right now, fam. This can get really crazy, especially in the energy market.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for, you know, I guess people that are not even aware so much of what's going on. They're going to see it. They're going to see it. But I think in a way, fam, like we said before, you know, even talking with Dennis, it needs to happen. People need to understand that what this means, our foreign policy abroad, and how it's affecting us home. Because otherwise, you know, we never get anybody to talk about foreign policy, whether they're left, right, or whatever. Yep. People are just going to be looking at this and start getting mad, right? And this is what we need. We need people to get angry, and we need people to do something about it, especially, you know, us who in the United States have been completely shielded from what you see in Lebanon, which has become normalcy in West Asia, right? The destruction, the chaos, the bombing. And we are told it's because that they are always like that. They're always at war.
Yeah.
You know, this is how they always are. Well, why?
They've been fighting for years, for centuries.
And it's just a religious war, you know.
Yeah. And dude, on Fox News, I can tell you right now, they're pushing a religious war. They had so much stuff going on about an NBC reporter who mocked Christianity, like, you know, supposedly after a briefing or an interview or whatever the case may be, and they wouldn't stop talking about that for a good hour, you know. And they have made it a spiritual war, a religious war. But, you know, it's not Islam that's the problem. I mean, when you get those people who say, oh, my God, radical Islam's the problem. No, it's not. Christian theocrats and uber Zionists are the problem. You know what I'm saying? Hell-bent Zionists that, you know, can convince the United States to go attack a country that's never even attacked us before. You know, this is something that at the rescue, the Republicans, and I talk about it all the time, and I don't agree with everything he says, but Colonel Douglas McGregor, he a short amount of time, and he says, listen, I'm warning you that the administration, the ongoing administration, Washington itself, the apparatus, they want to go to war with Iran, a country that's never attacked us before, and it would be stupid to do it. And that was his one message, and then he bounced. It's happening. It's here. We knew it was going to happen eventually. We all guessed it. We said, yeah, you know, it's going to happen. And it did happen. And right now, it's scary to see what's on the horizon. But, I mean, if gas prices got to raise up, if they got to see American bodies coming home in body bags, you know what I'm saying? If that's what it's going to take for people to wake up, you know, I don't want to see that at all. I don't want to see death of anybody. I think it's disgusting across the board. But why won't the American people wake up? And really, to tell you the truth, the people who support Donald Trump on this war and stuff, you're supporting bombing of little children. Like Dennis Kucinich talk, lines have been crossed. You know, they were crossed when Epstein brought that first girl to the island. Lines were crossed when the first bombing campaign, the first day of bombing when they bomb a school. It's disgusting over here, and you should have some compassion for those girls who were killed in that school. And the fact that you were desensitized and going along with this stuff during the Gaza bombing. It was okay to bomb women and children. Now you're still saying it okay. I'm sorry, but you are part of the problem there. You have it's never justified. You can try to use religion, you can try to use geopolitics. It's gross, it's disgusting, it's criminal activity, it's not necessary. Look at your own government, stop making excuses for them and Donald Trump. He's not an outsider. He's now probably the worst president of all times. And like Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski said, no president has violated the Constitution more than Donald Trump. He has that reward. He has that title. Enough is enough. This is crazy. And all of you people who are still holding on, you know, I saw David Frum on TV the other day, fam. That was that asshole during the George Bush the son. During his campaign, he was on TV all over the place, and he was touting stuff, and this is good, and this is success, and this is great. Now you see him on TV, and go, oh, that asshole's still around. You will be punished for sitting there and playing team sports, for supporting this fucking regime, the United States regime. That is, you will be, people will see who you are. And if you don't have the balls to claw at your own side right now, I have pity on you, because you have no future in this space. You will have no words to fall on. Nobody will listen to what you have to say if you were supporting this cult-like behavior from the Epstein class. You are done for. So wake the fuck up, and speak out about what's going on, or deal with the consequences when they come around.
That's right, fam. And I think that's a way to wrap it up, because this was a great show. And yeah, we should clip it up and put the
we will see what we can do. Jayme, why don't we put up a Give, Send, Go one more time? Let's see if we got anything, any juice over there. What was that? Wait, he has something there. What'd you have over there? You can put it up. Can't hear you. You had a fighter jet. Please put it up.
Okay. Yeah. I made this meme over 10 years ago. Okay. Because I used to work military industrial complex. I worked on programs that were adjacent to the F-35 and the F-22. We all knew at the time that the F-35 was a piece of crap. And we all knew that it was just a big overrun. But one of the things they did was they just tied like every single little component of this plane was like farmed out to some different company. So everybody was in on this thing. Everybody was getting their little piece of the pie while they were building this. This thing cost us over $1 trillion. And what it is, it's a jack of all trades plane. It does nothing well, it does everything poorly, and it does nothing well. So and it doesn't even outperform the planes it was supposed to replace. The F-22 is almost this bad, but it's not this bad. It actually is a better plane, but it still isn't the big performance increase that you would expect for investing all that money into these programs to replace the old F-16s, F-18s, F-15s. Each of those planes all were designed with a specific purpose in mind. They each had a mission that was assigned for that plane. They had a purpose, and they did them well. This plane doesn't outperform those. And the only thing that this plane has over the other jets is that this plane was supposed to be able to evade radar, which doesn't mean it was like 100% of an improvement, but it was like 90% evasive. And Iran has now shown that they have the ability to track the thing on radar and hit it. And even if they didn't destroy it in that one video, because I think it just damaged it, there might be another one that was actually knocked out of the sky. I'm not sure if that video was AI or not. Yeah. But the one thing that this plane was supposed to offer that cost us $1 trillion isn't even proving to be a form of protection of this plane. And we should be outraged. Like those of us who are adjacent to this and were working with these things, we were outraged about it back then too. But there's nothing you could do about it. Like this machine is just, it's in perpetual motion. And I don't know what it's going to take to stop except complete failure for where the machine just completely seizes and stops working. But this plane here, I mean, that's $1 trillion of our $40 trillion debt. And it's not even going to be able to accomplish the mission that it was built to accomplish. And I don't know what it's going to take to get Americans outraged, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. So let's go on to the Give, Send, Go, and I'll get out of here.
Thank you, Jayme. And he was in the business. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows. It's what his
Jayme, you should speak up more about that. Because it's good to have.
Well, I actually did. I shared that tweet on that tweet you did. I actually had a tweet there.
Nice.
Oh,
so here, I'll start. Like I tweeted on that tweet that you shared, but nobody responded. I don't think I don't get any traction, but here it is. So I said, everyone who's worked on this, worked in or with the military industrial complex knows that the F-35 is a piece of crap. It's jack of all trades that can do everything poorly and nothing well. A massive scam on the American people. It's $1 trillion reason we can't have nice things. But I don't think anybody saw it. I posted that like 9 hours ago on that same on this same tweet. So there you go. Let's get back to Gifts and Go.
Yeah. So I was trying to put up there, like the Chinese have developed, no stealth fighting anymore. The Chinese have developed radar that can catch everything. And supposedly the Iranians are using that radar system, I guess. I don't know. The majority of the weapons, the offensive weapons are manufactured, if not all of them, are manufactured by Iran. That's something crazy that you don't see out there nowadays. Guys, go help us out. Let's put the link in the chat. Give, Send, Go. We're up to 2182. We're going to hit the ground running. We're going to go and be in Peru to cover that election, talk to the people, give you an update about what's going on. You got to remember that Peru sits on the lithium triangle. It was just a bombing campaign in Ecuador the other day. The United States friendly government, puppet government is there. And they've banned the opposition party, the main opposition party, so it won't be able to run in the next election. So that means more military bases, more military action, the United States military action, your tax dollars. And what Dennis said, you know, our intervention over there is causing a lot of the problems, right? The CIA, you know, these bases, he said over 800 bases, close to 1,000 bases. We should close them. It's our tax dollars just to operate those bases alone. So even if we had what you would call a successful operation in Ecuador, and the United States has a stronghold and a presence, we got to maintain that presence financially, and that's coming out of your tax dollars. Why would you care for that base to be maintained? You're going to be told this bullshit. We got to fight back against communism, fam. It's the evil communist dictators. No, you got to pay for that. You got to maintain that empire, and that costs you money. When we could have nice things here at homes like roads, healthcare, schooling, all that other stuff. But no, we can't have nice things. So if you want to help out and see to that we can bring you the advice to get you nice things, go ahead, go to our Gifts and Go and donate if you can. If you can't donate, give a share, fam.
Yep, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in with us, and I hope everybody has a good weekend. We'll have some more stuff on my Substack, and yeah, that's it. And
see you next week. Monday, we'll be back. TruthWire, Truth Out for Craig Pasta, Jordula, Fiorella Isabel, Jayme CheeseSlice, and our guest today, Dennis Kucinich. Thank you so much for coming on. All the producers and lovers in the chat, thank you so much for helping on out. TruthWire is over. I'm going to go drink some more coffee. Later.
Bye.